Hello, comic book readers, and welcome to the live show Off the Rack from here at ComicPop Returns. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So let's talk about some comics. We're obviously going to be chatting about the books that came out the past week, and then we're going to recap them, review them, tell you what we thought about them, and then at the end of the show, we're going to recommend comics that are coming out this week that we think that you should check out. I should mention a little bit of house cleaning, obviously, as that's my notification. Are you notified? Did you get your push notification about what's happening at ComicPop Returns? If you didn't, what you should do is simply click the subscribe button and then click the bell for notifications so that you know when this show goes live, because that's pretty much the only way you're gonna know if this show is live, because YouTube has decided to stop including live shows in the videos portion, in the uploads option. It used to be that YouTube would say what uploads were, and that was just everything that we uploaded. That was just the uploads folder. It was a default folder that you could or could not share on your main YouTube page. But it was a chronicling of everything that you put out. Then they changed it from uploads to videos. Sure enough, no problem, whatever, just a word. But then they changed it from, instead of it being everything, to it being just videos that you uploaded that are not shorts or live. If you want to see shorts, those are in a different page, and those are called shorts. And those have a different algorithm with a different upload system. Live shows, I think they just threw to the winds. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing with live shows.
Like, why are you going live at all?
Why are we even doing live? It's not like we focused entirely on live for an entire year. It's not like we were like, oh, you got to go live. You got to try that.
We did that already. That's over.
We were into that, and now we're not, because we're all about being on the latest trends, the hottest stuff.
You got to be trending.
You got to be trending.
We don't trend.
We'd never trend. We've never trended in our lives, and we never will. But that's okay. We managed to slip under the radar sometimes as a result of that. But if you want to know what's going on, you're gonna have to either subscribe to the playlist Off the Rack, or just subscribe to the channel and know when we go live. Unless you listen to the show on Spotify as Off the Rack Comics or Off the Rack Reviews. I'm not sure which one, but it's called Off the Rack under the ComicPop banner. And in which case you're just like, those silly YouTube people. But if you want to sponsor today's show, you can always use super chats, which are still a thing that they're still pushing somehow, that allow you to ask a question or make a comment, and then it'll be part of the show, and we'll answer it here on the show. I feel it's the least we could do.
It looks like I have spidey sense happening.
You do, yeah. Well, that's not too far off. Brian Rowland says, is Tiffany still reading Marauders? I tried and have no idea what the heck is going on. ComicPop rules.
You know what? I didn't this week. I thought about it, and I just didn't.
And why is that?
Part of it, and like I know they're not at all the same thing at like even remotely, but the storyline, like the path they were going down as we were going into AXE, talking about like the first mutants and like the great like first sins by the Shi'ar Empire against the first, well, at least by the Crimson
Dawn?
No. No. Clan Crimson, whatever they are.
Yeah.
But like that whole thing, I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna tie into AXE and what they're doing. We got big revelations from that as to where mutants came from and all of that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. And for some reason, post this now, I'm just like, I'm good for right now, knowing about like the great like mic drop of like mutants early days.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't be, and I have a feeling this is something I'll probably go back to at some point, but I just kind of I didn't pick it up this week.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was on another channel and another show talking about X-Men, and I thought I'd throw this to you, Tiffany.
Okay.
I think that in the post-Hickman world, Duggan had become kind of like the self-anointed guide of the new direction for X-Men. But part of the problem that Hickman was faced with, if you believe the press, which is that Hickman was like, well, I mean, I was ready to move on to the next thing, but all these creators had other ideas, and they were just so excited to be in the Krakoa time. I didn't want to get in their way.
Right.
And so I took a huge check from Substack, and then I went and made my own creator-owned project that will undoubtedly be adapted into some kind of a multimedia project.
Sure.
Selflessly, of course. And they can go off in their own direction and make their own stuff. I think that part of the chickens are coming home to roost in that regard, where it's like, when you don't have like a leader or know where it's going, or you don't like the destination because it interferes with your desire to stay employed and play,
yeah,
you end up kind of spinning your wheels. And so now, like, there are 2 people who are directing the line of X-Men, and it's Kieran Gillen and Jerry Duggan, and they're not working in unison, and they're just kind of going in any direction they want.
I would say yes and no to everything you just said. I
Mhm.
can't fully agree with you at all.
Well, of course not.
I think that Gillen and Duggan do work pretty well together, especially like during AXE.
AXA was a good sign.
I think that they can work well with one another if they want to. I don't know if either of them necessarily has decided who wants to step up.
Oh, I don't think either of them will decide.
I don't think either of them are trying to be like the architect of X-Men. I mean, I like Gillen's direction and his voice for them.
Absolutely.
But I tend to look at it now in a post Hickman Krakoa era.
Yes.
When you look back on it, even though it's spanned years, right? It was at least 2 years.
I'd say Hickman's run was probably about 2 years. Yeah, maybe a year. Yeah.
That it was almost like a 2-year long event, and that's why it was so tight.
Right. Yeah, except it was going to be, I think, like a 3-act structure. Like we were going in another direction.
But I'm saying, like, the reason people look back on it and go like, oh my gosh, like
this is so tight.
This was so tight was because it was almost more like it was an event and less like it was just the like current status. And it was the current status. But when you look at ongoing books, typically, it's like a creative team and they're just trying to
tell their story.
They're just telling their story. They're trying to make it to like the next year. They just want to get their next set of books. They want to make sure that they're staying on, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they do have a story to tell. But when you have someone who's like, no, I have like this, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do, if that is what the case is, right? If that's what the story was, and that and then we'll be done with this.
Yes.
And you go from that to being like, we're going to run this like a normal set of books. That's where I think we start to feel like that letdown, just because we went from something that felt like it had so much momentum because it was coming to an end inevitably,
naturally,
as opposed to like, we had to figure out how to keep this going now because we're going to treat it more normally. So I would say that, post Hickman, what we're feeling is an absence of organization and a treatment of it just being something different. Like it's funny because you look at MCU post Endgame, and I feel like it's a similar sensation, but like for different reasons, where it's like we're trying to start the next thing and like it's a whole new phase and it's supposed to be going in a different way. And that's what it feels like. We're out of the Hickman phase of X-Men and we're trying to get our footing.
I see.
And just become like normalized to it being something that we're going to see where it goes. It's going to be a little more meandering because we're not trying to shut it down.
Right.
So for good or for worse, I don't know, because I would say now, had we not had AXE, I would have been a little like, okay, I do miss the urgency behind what the story that Hickman was telling and how, clearly like pieces had to fall into place at a certain line. So it was like all of the other creators kind of knew that, like they could suggest things like, hey, I'm thinking we should do this. That's kind of where Ten of Swords comes from, but it all kind of works within like where I think Hickman
the framework
wanted to go with it.
Because Araka was not part of his plan in any way. And that's but it felt pretty organic. It felt like it was a natural direction for that line. It was a surprise, but it didn't feel a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Exactly. So now you have got, instead of creators going like, okay, I know at this point, like I kind of need to be here.
Yeah.
Creators are just like, okay, we are working together.
Where are we going with this?
There certainly are certain, like there's some synergies, that you'll see like cross lines. So I don't think the creators are not talking to each other. I think they absolutely are, but I think it's a little with a little less urgency. Unless they're like, so I'm sure at some point they're like, this is the next thing. Like so-and-so wants to do something. This is the next thing. Like, we know what the next thing is. And so we know that books that feature that individual character probably knows that they've got to get this guy in certain positions, right? We know Sinister is going to be a big thing. So if Sinister's in a book, they're going to have to start positioning him. Isn't
that kind of a holdover from Hickman though? Like, wasn't Hickman kind of positioning Sinister to be a big deal at some point or another based on how much Hickman liked Sinister and used him in his previous run during Avengers and Infinity or Secret Wars and whatnot. And then now seeing Gillen kind of paying it off.
I mean, I think what was happening there, what you're seeing now is less of like Gillen like being like, and now to like, tell my Sinister story, and more him paying attention to the beats that were there already. I don't think he's like trying to like kowtow to Hickman. I think he's just looking at the story and respecting the threads that were dangling. And he's like, okay, I'm going to pull this one and we'll see where this one goes. But that's just I think Gillen is as a storyteller. Like he's able to, like seamlessly weave himself into the current narrative while also adding his own flair to it.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate. I like him as a storyteller. I think we have already noticed this at this point. Like, if you've been watching the show, you know that I definitely like Kieran Gillen as a ex writer,
Yeah.
or just a writer in general.
Sure.
But I really like what he brought to the table, and I'm really glad he had an opportunity to join this.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact is, I think a lot of characters and storylines were set up by Hickman.
Yeah.
And so like I am glad that we're dealing with Sinister. Sinister's kind of running amok.
That's right.
And just kind of, been in the background for certain things, but Gillen has been positioning him, and I appreciate the way in which we saw it this week in Immortal X-Men, where we are positioning him, but it feels pretty natural. It actually feels pretty natural. It's not just a huge move where you're like, what? How could this be?
Right. Well, what happened in Immortal X-Men number 9?
Oh, we're just gonna go into it because like
Kieran Gillen and Wernick.
This one was like, there's a lot that happens into it, but there was something very much in particular that happens in this that I was like,
oh, we're going here. We're going there.
We're going
doing
there, and I'm sure you already saw a spoiler for it because
didn't.
every time I come
This
up
is
with
not.
something
I did not see any
I'm
spoilers
going
for
to
this
tell
book.
you about this. Like, you immediately have like you know what's coming.
Well, because r/comic books loves to post
They sure
full
do.
page
But
spoilers
there
from the
was-
books that come out in the week.
There was something in this book that I was like, I can't tell if Gillen is just I know he's aware of social media.
He's a
I know-
genius. Yeah, like he
Well, he
knows.
is, but like how much he's aware of like what people are talking about as opposed to like actually setting something up. So I really can't take that
Yeah.
as like anything, but we'll get there.
Okay.
This is just setting up that like post everything that happened with AXE, because obviously that's Gillen's baby. So like this isn't gonna be like a, oh my gosh, if you didn't read AXE, you're not gonna know what's going on. This is a natural progression from there for these characters. So we're getting back to that, like Destiny and Nathaniel Essex
Yes.
working together. What's up with that, right? It's
Mhm.
getting back to the previously on X-Men. The previous storylines with the like, Sinister being a clone, right?
Yes.
And actually running into the Dr. Stasis
Yes.
with the true
Sinister.
Nathaniel Essex, right?
Yeah.
And what does that all mean? We deal with the fact that the ramifications of the fact that Mr. Sinister was never judged
Yes.
by the progenitor.
Right. Well, our Mr. Sinister,
Our
the one
Mr.
we've been
Sinister,
following,
right.
he was not judged because he's not the real one.
Right. And so like he has a full-on conversation with Destiny about that. And he's like, Did you pass? She's like, oh no. No, I didn't pass for a variety of reasons. How
Naturally.
about you?
Mhm.
And he's like, I was never judged.
Right. She's like, oh.
And she's like, she basically says like, oh, I wonder if Dr. Stasis was judged.
Right.
And that like gets to him.
Hmm.
It really does. She's like, don't worry. Like plenty of people are judging you. I'm judging you right now. Like you're
He's like, I don't care about that.
No, but it really bothers him. Like the whole thing just really, really irks him.
Okay.
But that, she's like, well, as long as like, we know we're on the same page here, and like, listen, our little scheme did not work, but that's okay. Like, we're gonna get them, and
Mhm.
it's all gonna be good, right? Clearly, she's trying to manipulate him. He's trying to manipulate every situation he's in because
course.
he's Sinister.
Yep.
But we are reminded of the fact that like, don't forget that Sinister has a whole bunch of Moiras. He attempted to use them during AXE, but like the progenitor made sure he couldn't do that.
Right.
They're like, no, you can't. He's annoyed about that too. He's got a lot of reasons to annoy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's thinking to himself, you know what? Like, maybe I need to take a look at this again. Like, clearly our plans aren't working. Maybe we should reboot back. Like, maybe we should go back to Moira 5 that he has. Right? So he basically has like a whole bunch of saved games. If you think about like save skimming,
mm-hmm.
You're going to totally understand what I'm saying here, where it's like they've been making Moira clones. And each time you make a Moira clone, it backs up the save data from when it was cloned. Yes, exactly. And so he keeps making them. Now he does mention in this that we get a little rules there because Gillen's like, let's set some boundaries to this. Because obviously I've created this thing where it's like, oh my gosh, isn't this a real problem? He's like, actually it is. And the fact is that like reality can't handle too many of these Moiras rebooting or being here at the same time. Like it's creating all kinds of problems for him. And in fact, it's difficult for him to clone her over and over again. Like, I like lasers and claws and like all this other stuff, right? No problem. I can clone that over and over, and I can have an army of that. It doesn't matter. But this power in particular, it causes a problem for me. Okay. Right. So he's thinking about it. He's like, I can go back to 5. And then he's like, you know what, though? The problem, while Moira was still on their side, he's like, yeah, but then I'm gonna have to go through Judgment Day. And again, I really don't want to do that. Like, that is really like what drives him to not do. And he's like, in fact, I can go back to 1 and start this all over again. But then, like, that's a lot of work. He doesn't want to do the work. Yeah. So he makes a whole series. He's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to make a whole series of Moira 6, right? And I'm going to make a whole bunch of them, as many as I can. And my goal here is to kill off the Quiet Council. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. And so he attempts to do that. He like goes to one of the meetings because we see this is how we got to this point, because he attempts to go to the meeting early on. Destiny's like, Exodus, he's going to shoot Hope. So Exodus kills him.
Okay.
And that resets it. He's like, okay, what does this mean? Well, he creates Moira 6 point, I want to say like 1 through 9.
Okay.
But possibly 10. I think it's 10.
Mm-hmm. One for each member of the council.
Well, also like 10's a powerful number. Like within.
Sure, it's related.
He has like a failsafe in which it's like if he flatlines or whatever, then like
it reboots.
It kills one of them, and you know it reboots it, and so he comes back and he gets all of his memories, right? Because they back it up as much as he can. And so he's got like a chart of like all the times that he fails, and so he just keeps doing it. And like most of the issue is him attempting to kill everyone.
It's Edge of Tomorrow, but with Mr.
Right. And it's really fun to read, and you're like, I'm having a good time. And Mr. Sinister's super duper like annoyed about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of this, he succeeds in killing Hope and Xavier and like Exodus.
Okay.
He kills like everybody. You know what I mean? I think Kitty's left, Destiny, Mystique, Shaw, Nightcrawler, and Colossus. And I'm like, cool.
Okay,
because we all know this could be reset.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I'm like, take what you will with a grain of salt here, because everybody's going to be back and it's going to be fine. Right. Like, it's not going to be a big deal, but it's more or less how is he going to do this and what's the point of this? Now, what was the thing that I was talking about that I was like, what the heck? It's a single panel and a half, essentially.
Yeah.
He has like a little mini quiet council. He's looking down on it and he's like complaining about everything that's going on. And like someone screams off panel, like, let me out of here. And you look over and it's the face of Beast. And he's like, I'll murder you, Essex. And he's in a tube. Right. And you're like, what the heck? And Nathaniel goes up to him, or Mr. Sinister goes up to him and says, like, Dark Beast, you'd be so sad if you came out anyway, because you're not even the darkest beast anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so Sinister has Dark Beast over there. And we acknowledge the fact that Dark Beast ain't so bad anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, are you just paying attention to people talking about what a character assassination like there has been on Beast?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm like,
yeah, like, is he setting this up, or is he just acknowledging it?
Is he just acknowledging it? But I love that. I love that so much that it's just like,
well, that's a payoff too for being a fan, like for reading the X-Men books. Because if you're reading X-Force, for example, you know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like that for me, it was like a mic drop moment, because everything else, it is so fun to watch him go through all of these and die all those times, because there's just something very satisfying about watching Mr. Sinister die like 9 times.
Yeah, I'm sure the Summers would love to watch it.
It's very satisfying in a variety of ways. Like Exodus kills him, Hope takes his Exodus's power and kills him, Storm kills him a couple of times. He kills himself a couple of times when he realizes he's going to fail.
Yeah.
But Kitty seems to understand. She has an idea of what's going on, and they're going to go get him.
Okay.
Destiny's also going to do it. And it's difficult to tell if Destiny's doing this because she is looking at the future and this is how she gets what she wants. Or if she's doing it because she needs to give plausible deniability. So yeah, this is an excellent issue. I like what Gillen's doing. It's great stuff. But again, if you're interested in all on what's going to be happening with Mr. Sinister, I have a feeling this will be just a nice background or base level for him as we roll into that. Inevitably, I'm not saying it'll probably be. I don't think it's going to necessarily be required reading. I'm not going to know until we get there.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to see where he's been. Obviously, he was part of Hellion, so you could like go back to that too if you're interested in just reading about Mr. Sinister, because this is a fun Mr. Sinister. He's a fun Sinister to hate.
Yes.
Like I just don't like him at all. But yeah, the road to the next thing is exciting just because I know we know some of the players who are going to be involved, and they're great writers. So,
yeah.
Good stuff.
Mickey Veach says, on the one hand, I'm glad to see Spider-Man event that isn't multiverse centric, but that trailer Marvel put out for Dark Web makes it look so convoluted and overly busy. I would love to be proven wrong. I didn't see the trailer. I just read the issue, and we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I mean, it's connected to X-Men and Spider-Man, and both are. I think that it's actually like it makes a lot of sense in universe and out of universe to have both worlds or books, families of books connected in one event, because they are, I think, the most like fan-centric books. Like they are the books that have the most vocal fans of the Marvel bullpen, and they have the most convoluted histories. So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Ray Farr, ComicPop, woo! I bought Superman Hunter Prey because of ComicPop. Desaad prank calling the Justice League just to moon them is in my headcanon now. Nice. If you haven't already checked that out, you should. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Desaad basically desperately calls anybody. I think it's Oberon, because Doomsday is just tearing up Darkseid shit. Devin Ferris can't stay for the live show. Just wanted to pop in and say I hope you guys had a wonderful anniversary.
Well,
Thank you
thank
very much, Devin. That's right.
much.
Tiffany and I did have an anniversary
We did.
not too long ago, just a couple days ago.
Yeah,
We had a great time.
we did. It was really nice.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chocobo Kid hat available. Who knows when, but sweet hat. Thank you. Yes, this is our winter hat. It's our beanie, I guess you could call it. There are a multitude of hats we have. This one is one of them. There's 6 of them left in total. I think we actually have 2 left to sell.
I don't think you have any left to sell.
No, I think so. I think that's it because we did sell one at New York Comic Con. I think I don't remember.
We did.
No, we didn't. We had it. We didn't sell it. We sold like over a dozen ball caps though, which were great. And you've seen those, and you'll see it again on this week's episode of Back Issues. Jose Rivera, this is my first ComicPop Returns live. Nice. I discovered ComicPop in December of last year, and it's helped me have a crappy year a little better.
Oh,
Keep up the amazing work, everyone. You're all doing great. Well, thank you very much, Jose, and thanks for
thank
watching.
you so much.
Welcome to the new channel.
Yeah, and happy subscription anniversary.
Yeah, thanks for subscribing for a year, and welcome to the family. That comics guy, happy belated anniversary. Hope it was great. Also, with 2022 coming to a close, what has been your favorite book or run this past year? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's always such a hard question, and I'm never ready for it. And it comes up every single year, and I'm like, next year I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to be so ready for it. And then we get here, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, and the other thing is, it's tough to tell like what books are even like part of the year, like the Supergirl count. Was that last year's book?
No, I can absolutely tell you. I think I know mine 100%, just because it's recent. And I'm sure there's other things I enjoyed, but it was recent, and I can say with assurance that I really like the AXE run.
Yeah, you loved AXE.
I really, really did. I looked forward to it every week, and I got to tell you, it was a highlight for me.
Yeah,
absolute highlight.
Jose Rivera also says, also because of ComicPop, anytime I hear Jeff Johns, I mentally have Sal doing finger guns. Yeah, Jeff Johns. So speaking of books that are great that came out this year alone, I guess we could talk about Gotham City Year 1, Number 3 from Tom King and Phil Hester.
And I think your answer would be Strange Adventures. Not Strange Adventures.
Oh yeah, Human Target.
Human Target.
Yeah.
That didn't come out this year?
I don't know if it came out last year or this year.
Oh.
But Gotham City Year 1, Number 3. This is...
Sorry, that owl.
I know, he's great. It has such sinister overtones. It's incredible. Like you will change your tune when you read this issue.
Is it the Court of Owls?
I assume it is. It has to be. I very sincerely think it is.
I love how friendly it is.
I know, it's great.
Ooh.
Yeah, you should see how they use it this issue.
Ooh.
But yeah, Gotham City Year 1. This is Slam Bradley, the original detective from Detective Comics, talking to Batman, and it's a flashback story about him as a younger private eye, being contracted to rescue. It's the Lindbergh baby story.
Okay.
But for the Waynes instead.
Okay.
That's it. That's the story.
Okay.
Like, I love how it's like with Tom King. It's like,
so is it like
it's this, but this.
Is it rescuing his dad?
No, it is not. It's the female heiress to the Wayne fortune.
Oh.
But yeah, it's very interesting and definitely worth reading. Phil Hester's art is so great, and it's funny because I used to I don't know, I discounted it back in the day, like when he drew like Green Arrow stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was like, it's
I saw it the other day, probably like for the first time, like that. I brought one of the trades.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah. I always thought it kind of had like an animated quality, and it was like, yeah, it's good, but it just looks like cartoon stuff. And I think it's because of the stuff that he had done when I was first exposed to his work.
I think that it's also the fact that as time has gone on, there has been a much greater variety of comic book art styles in mainstream books.
Yeah.
And so you're used to seeing things that look like that more on like, larger books with, superhero characters.
Right. There's another book that I'm going to cover on this episode that also was drawn by Phil Hester, and it couldn't be more different from this book.
It's got some range.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's great. But yeah, Gotham City Year 1, issue 3 came out last week. This is obviously a mini series. I think it's shorter than most. I don't think it's 12, but you should definitely be reading the series. It's fantastic. It's just fantastic.
Will it get a hardcover?
Oh yeah, of course it will.
It's the thorn in my side.
Of course it will. It's starring a man, so obviously it will get a hardcover. That's the message.
I would say it's got an owl on it.
It's got an owl on it, but like DC, that you heard it here. You heard it here first. DC Comics will not give women hardcovers unless they're Wonder Woman, and that's it.
Yeah.
Even you can get a trial of the Amazon's hardcover. Why the fuck would I buy that?
Beep.
Yeah.
I beeped us.
Right.
Not to worry.
But yeah, you got to read this series. It's great.
Okay.
And it's only 3 issues, so go pick up everything else.
Okay.
Peter Gomez says, do you see the Krakoa era of X-Men slowly going in the way of the 90s Clone Saga? Fun idea, outliving its welcome. No, I think people like it more. I mean, like, people love to romanticize and look at the Clone Saga with nostalgia goggles. Most of us were unhappy.
Well, no, but you could say in terms of the way it, like the Clone Saga ended, where they were like, "Oh, we shouldn't have."
Well, we need to fix this.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, and I do have fear of that.
Yeah,
a bit like overstaying its welcome, because I think right now, like, it has been welcomed and people still have their favorites, even if people kind of, not everyone's on board for Krakoa, and not everybody was on board for Krakoa to begin with.
No, it's true.
I feel like, even still to this day, people still have books that it's like, I'm not reading all the Krakoa books, but I do like this one.
Yeah.
Right? I am paying attention to that one.
Absolutely.
But that it could overstay its welcome.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to be like, oh, it's like, it's really easy to fix.
Oh yeah, there's a reset button. The Clone Saga did not have a reset button just built into itself.
I mean, it is a messy fix.
It would be, yeah. If you had to cancel 3 titles from the Krakoa era right now, what would you cancel? Just to make way.
Are you just telling me I have to do this? Like, this is something I have to do?
Yeah, there are a couple of books that just need to go, that are just like, we don't need this anymore.
I feel like I would cancel Marauders simply because of the fact that, and I'm not saying it's not a good book, and I'm not saying it's not interesting. It started off as one thing, and we've come so far from where it was that like it's one of the books that I think may have needed a retitle as well.
That's fair.
Like when they rebooted it and they changed it to what like it is now, I feel like it was an opportunity for them to go another way with that title, because I really liked the original idea of the Marauders. Like, Kitty Pryde can't get onto Krakoa, but she wants to help anyway, and like they're pirates, but they're pirates for good. Like it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
now,
I think they haven't been pirates in like what?
Well, they were kind of doing
forever
spacey pirate stuff there for a second, which, to be fair, intrinsically tied. We've said that a million times. That, like, space is intrinsically tied with the X-Men. But I just feel like it's lost a little of its sizzle over time, and potentially like gotten just a very different scope for what it is. So I think maybe a retitle on that one might have been a stronger way to go. Maybe, I don't know. I skipped New Mutants this week.
Yeah.
And
it's a shame, because that was my #1 book for a while. But
then I picked it up for a while, and I was really, really enjoying it. But once we got done with the Limbo thing, I was kind of like, I felt like it was okay for me to go. Yeah. And that's like, I appreciappeat when they do that.
Yeah, but it's a bad sign for a book.
When they go like, hey, it's all right, you can
drop off. Fine. We're doing okay.
And I don't know, I kind of feel like that's it for right now, because I like what Spurrier's doing. I like what Gillen's doing. I like the main book, and X-Force is dealing with Beast, and like I have to see to its conclusion. Right. Like, we have to do something with that, and I don't want it to not be dealt with. Like, we have to do something with that.
I read Predator #5 from Ed Brisson and Kev Walker. This is the like 6-issue miniseries of Predator that like we waited, I don't know, the entire lockdown of COVID to get. And this issue in particular just highlights that this could have been an independent Boom book or a Substack comic or anything. It certainly doesn't need to be a Predator book, and it doesn't feel like a Predator book at all. It's just like, it's so like weak. Like, it's well drawn and it's well written, but who on earth gives a fuck? Like, did this Predator story need to be told for any reason? Like, what is this contributing to anything? Is it meaningful? Is it deep? If it's not, is it entertaining? Does it at the very least justify Marvel having the Predator license? No. It's just a thing. And unfortunately, because both Alien and Predator came to Marvel and started out with such a thud, they have now diminished their value in the eyes of the owners. And so now they will not be quick to do another Predator. Right. And the Alien book is just languishing on the shelves. If my local comic book stores are an indication, if you are missing out, if you feel like you're missing out on the new run of Alien, which, by the way, is a better writer on it, or artist on it, I should say. Same writer, but different artist. You can pick up every single copy of it at your local comic book store, because it's all sitting there waiting for you to pick up. That's probably very true. Every single issue is just waiting for you, because no one's buying it. This is just like, you know, my parents got killed by a predator, even though they weren't predators themselves. Like they didn't have any reason to be killed by a predator, but they were. And then she, for 15 years, takes her ship and hunts down other predators. But we don't ever really see that. And then she gets finally like bumped into by civilization. And they're like, you owe us money. Like, I'm like, that's an alien book. And like, I'm sorry, but it's just one of my really big pet peeves is the fact that they keep talking about 2041 and how like, well, we were doing this, and this, and space travel and like space colonization. And I'm like, my brother in Christ, no, you didn't. That's a very optimistic appraisal of the next 20 years.
We got a lot
in 20 years, we will have starships and hyperspeed and and interstellar colonization. Like, are you kidding?
Don't forget, this book is saying that the last Predator movie happened.
Yes, that
not Prey. The other one.
The worst one, The Predator,
which indicated that we had been stealing tech from
from predators over.
So yeah, no, according to that, yes, we can.
Yeah, and it's established a precedent that we are only interested in inclusion of the worst things, like The Predator, which is the worst one. And when I say the worst one, I mean like almost the worst one in any Fox franchise. Like, it's just horrible. Is it worse than Alien Covenant? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It's fucking bad.
It was not. I did not enjoy that movie.
Predator 5 is better than The Predator. That ain't saying much. And this book, unfortunately, like, it looks good and it's and it's written well enough. You know, like the last ones I liked, the last 2 issues, I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this, and the art and the designs of the ships and the land speeders and stuff. Everything was really fun, and world building was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we're now at the penultimate issue. We're leading to the end, and it's just like nobody needed to do this.
Right.
Like, this does not warrant the acquisition of the license. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And it's like, if you're telling a Spider-Man story, like, you can get away with doing like dud entire runs of Spider-Man because like they're not going to not do another one. With Predator, you never know.
Right.
Corey Crumbcake says, hi, I wanted to say thank you for the actual years of entertainment. Your channel got me into comics, YouTube, and writing my own stuff.
That's great.
That's great. Emotional outburst over. Back to comics. Have a great night. Certainly
Thank
not an outburst of any kind. If it is,
I love that name too.
Yeah, it's a great name. But thank you very much for allowing us to help you in that regard. Barry Busan says, the ending to Do a Powerbomb almost brought a tear to my eye and reinvigorated my love for pro wrestling. D-Dubs really knows how to make impactful fight scenes. Have either of you kept up with it? No. After a while, I've been buying them and then not reading them.
Oh,
I like the book. I think it's fantastic. I just haven't had a chance to like sit down and read it.
But and Sal's really good actually about trade waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Not trade waiting, but like if he like falls off of a book,
I'll just read the rest.
He's actually really good about grabbing the trade and then reading it. He'll be like, oh, I finished this. I'm like,
yeah. Well, with Predator, like I fell off for like 3 issues, and then I just went back and read all of them. You know, Gotham. Gotham Year One. I didn't. Tom gave me a copy of the first one, and then I just didn't read it. And then by the time issue 2 came out, I read issue 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, which
is kind of the way to do it.
I would say you're a strong reader. That
thank
helps.
You.
Like you're a very strong reader.
Well, it doesn't hurt.
No,
but yeah, man. I think it's a great book, and I'm not encouraged to read it the way I read other things because I just it's not that I don't appreciate it. I just don't care about pro wrestling to such a degree. You know, it's just such a thing that I don't care about.
That's fair.
And I love his art, and I love him and Mike Spicer working together on that thing. And like, it's gorgeous looking. And every time I read it, I'm like, oh, that's really good. Like, it is a good series. It's just like, but I'm like, I don't care.
Okay.
R. Jones, curious to hear Tiff's thoughts on Gargoyles #1, perhaps back issues on previous SLG run. That's the slave labor graphics run. Greg didn't miss a beat. Reading #1 felt like coming home. Tiffany, tell us what you thought. Gargoyles, from one of the best publishers working today.
From Dynamite.
From a book that literally fell apart in your hands. It's Gargoyles.
Yeah, no, I have my physical, and like I treat my comics really well when I'm reading them, and the middle page, like the middle
like chunk just fell.
No, it wasn't the chunk, it was just the spread. It was that spread. It just fell out. I was
Just
like,
fell the fuck out of the book.
boo, but I can't judge the book on that, and I will
No,
not judge the book on that. I just wish the printing on it was a little stronger.
Even
At least-
Valiant books can hold together.
I guess what I'm saying is I wish the staple was a little stronger at the end of the day.
There you
That's I
have
think
it.
that's what happened there.
Yeah.
This is Gargoyles, written by Greg Weisman with art by George Cambadias.
Sure.
Is that correct? I don't know. Yeah, listen, if you watched Gargoyles, damn, you in for a treat. So good. This just picks up right after the end of season 2. You just forget all about
The Goliath
the
Chronicles.
Goliath. That doesn't even exist. Just ignore it. You're fine. You're good.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch it. There's for me, there's like always 3 seasons of Gargoyles because season 2 is so freaking long. It's like 50 something episodes.
Yeah.
That's 2 seasons. So you get 3 seasons of Gargoyles and then some garbage you don't worry about.
Yeah.
But this I thought was absolutely incredible.
Ooh.
It the art looks great. It's so different though in a sense because like it has something of like a fun animated quality to it, but looks very different than the show. And so it took my brain a little bit to adjust to like what my mind's eye thinks of these characters and what they should look like.
Mhm.
But since it's written by Greg Weisman, they all sound the same as they should. And you can hear voices. You hear straight up, you hear those voices. If you know the show and you know the voice actors, you are going to slip right into it. Obviously issue 1 is going to set us up with what's the status quo, what are the Gargoyles been up to, where we like who are the main players that we're dealing with, and maybe want to go back and watch things because like there was some stuff that goes on there that I'm like, was that in there, was that in the comic? I never actually read the other comic, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, we do have a couple of volumes of it, I think, at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that was I was like in a weird way after the Goliath Chronicle, so I was like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't want any more. Like, but now I'm ready for more. Yeah, like we set up like hey, don't forget Goliath and Elisa, they're still a thing.
Yeah.
Broadway and Angela, they're a thing.
Oh,
Brooklyn's got a lady and something else. Good for him.
Yeah.
Lexington is
and he's there,
and Hudson has
Lexington,
his TV for
yeah,
sure. Somewhere.
Lexington continues to be the Donatello of the Gargoyles.
Yeah, but like this issue serves also as a like, hi, do you not know what this is? Like maybe you're aware of Gargoyles in terms of like it exists. But other than that, like if you don't know anything about it, you can actually jump in with this.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of this, Elisa is doing a Elisa. I always not pronounce the Z, and I should.
Mm-hmm.
It does an opening like narration in her head, and yeah, if you're wondering if we just do the opening narration,
it's in the copy for the description of the book.
Yeah, but that's what she does. She's like she says it in her own way.
That's
like
awesome.
She's like,
it was 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, no, she does it like literally like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
like and they live again. Anyway, they're you get the idea. It's that kind of thing. I'm like, it was when I say like hand clappingly smiling like moment for me. Yeah, that was me. I was just like, yay! I'm here for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of this issue is just kind of setting up the status quo, setting up the enemies, setting up our protagonists to make sure you understand who they are, like what they're into, like where the status is for New York in terms of having gargoyles, who can see them, who can't see them, like who are they hiding from, I should say, because they're real.
Right.
Like who are they hiding from versus who they don't care about. Like the enemies, it's like, fine, you're going to see me and I don't care. But like, the good guys, we're not ready for that yet. And we have our reasons, and trust me, there are over 52 episodes to explain why. They're all good reasons. But yeah, it was great to see characters I was very familiar with, to be back in that world and that universe. And I really wasn't sure how it was going to translate for me. I'm not usually like into, obviously I didn't read the other run. No, because I don't know.
You know what it was? I can imagine, like, because I've seen like continuations and stuff like that. And sometimes just like,
it doesn't hit.
It doesn't feel like that's not the same. And it's like it was for slave labor graphics. And it's like I don't want to get into this knowing that it's going to be like dead.
Yeah.
And not continued.
Exactly. So, that's enough for me to maybe go back and check that out. But this just felt quick and fun. And, it was a welcome home. And I think that was also part of it too, is that like Weisman has been away for a bit. and like I was a little worried about it, and I wasn't sure how. I was like, oh, I'll read the first issue and we'll see where it goes. I'm in.
Yeah.
I am in.
Somebody else's book fell apart too.
Okay, it wasn't just me. It's like it's something that they did. Okay, that sucks.
That sounds about right.
That sucks, but still great
book.
Yeah, a great episode. Great
episode.
issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, and there's a new baby coming.
I know. According to the description.
Yeah, it's Elisa's brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do they have a rookery?
Like they do kind of. They're like kind of like the Morlocks of this whole thing.
Okay.
It's oh my god. Thalog shows up.
Oh no!
I was like,
you're like, where's that action figure? I know it's supposed to be coming, but I have to buy it.
Yeah,
Actually, no, I think that's out. No, we want Cold Stone.
Yeah, I do want Cold Stone.
I know. It's a great figure.
I do want Cold Stone. If they make Cold Fire, I'll take her too.
Sure.
She's great. The fact is, like, you've heard me talk about Gargoyle Girls before. We talked to Greg Weisman like years ago.
Yeah, one of our first episodes of Elseworlds Exchange was
that
Greg
was
Weisman
so fun, and I wish I had like I didn't have good interviewing skills. I barely have interviewing skills now.
Do.
At least I have a little bit of interviewing skills, and I wish we had done it like now rather than then, because I was just like I didn't know what to say.
We could do it again now and like have a return because he's gonna be on the tour.
I guess, but like this is one of those things where it's like, I've mentioned this show before. I am a huge fan.
Yes.
I am a fan.
Right. A fan
of the show. A fan.
Yeah. But it's a good
so this is exciting, and I'm really glad it lived up to the hype, because I was a little worried. I was like, look at this, they're on the cover, they shoved Hudson and Lexington all the way in the back like they usually do.
Yep.
Just 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So good. A little confusing that Brooklyn's got like armor similar to that episode where like they go into a weird dream-like future state situation, but hey, like whatever.
Whatever.
It's fine. Maybe that's just his fate.
Yay.
That armor.
Well, Daniel Hospitales says, just read She-Hulk. Any predictions on where it's going? I think they're going to re-kill Jack of Hearts and get him out of here. I think that like... Sorry, there's something in the air in the studio where like it'll just get in my throat and it won't leave. But yeah, I think that Jack of Hearts is obviously like he's like a love interest for Jen. He's a secret. His resurrection is quiet. His power set's different and confusing. So obviously, I think at the end of it, they're going to kill him off, re-kill him, and Jen will be the only one who knows that like he, returned and he's great. And,
yeah, she can have that for herself.
Exactly. I think that's where we're going with that.
Nice.
That's a kind of trope. I wonder what the name of it is.
Sure.
Oh, we have a fucking idiot in the chat.
Well, don't worry. You don't see when our moderators
that's true.
Doing their thing.
Jose Rivera says, "Is there a series that holds a personal meaning to you?" James Robinson's run on Starman is one of the reasons I pursued writing in college. That's nice. That makes sense because Starman was very much an influential book during that time. Not so much now, but it was then. I mean, there's a lot of runs that like really mean something to me. I mean, I really have responded to staying in the Fox Aliens bandwagon. The Simonson Goodwin Alien adaptation helped me like kind of like focus my interest and desire to write like my own space adventure. Like the JMS brought me into Spider-Man again after a long lapse, and like Todd McFarlane kept me in the comic book industry, like even when I was like done with like mainstream comics, even like long into like my tenure stepping away from comics for a long time. Like there's a lot of different like runs, but I don't have like a definitive run where I'm like, this is what defines me as a person. There's so many different books over time. Yeah. You anything? Figured I'd ask just in case.
I don't have an answer for that ready to go, so move on.
Mordecai says, found out that we were getting a Spider-Gwen clone saga on my birth month. Didn't expect to find out my birthday might kind of suck, though that but sure. Yeah, man. I'm sorry I didn't hear about that, but like that sucks. None of them
Makes total sense.
We don't need clone sagas. We're done.
They like that nostalgia factor.
Yeah, it's really stupid. M says, why is Marvel so afraid to match Aliens and Predators versus Marvel superheroes? What's the point of Marvel buying the property? Work for DC? It's true. Although, as was pointed out in the chat, Disney acquired Fox. Marvel didn't buy the property. Obviously, based on Gargoyles being licensed by Dynamite, these licenses that Marvel could have exclusivity over aren't necessarily a done deal. Like IDW was publishing Star Wars books even after the Disney acquisition. So it's like
the fact that Gargoyles isn't being published by
Marvel is stupid.
Which, because then you could do a crossover.
Well, yeah,
with Spider-Man.
Right? Spider-Man and the Gargoyles.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Daredevil and the Gargoyles.
Yeah.
Any of it would be cool.
Yep.
I mean, but right now I'm glad that they're doing just straight Gargoyles, that it's like divorced, because I don't want the Gargoyles in the Marvel universe, because I like their world building is
their world building is perfection.
It could work, but I'd rather it just be over there.
No, it's so good.
But yeah,
you'd have to do like the way they did the Batman
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
They're from another universe.
Yeah.
Although you could say that they've always been there. We've been quiet about it. But yeah, no, I'm holding my breath for a Marvel Predator Aliens crossover. Because otherwise, what the hell? Because we need a Batman Predator again, and we're not going to get it ever again. So like, if we're not, then I better get Wolverine versus Aliens and stuff. Like, I better get Punisher versus Predator. Like, come on.
I'm sorry, that's just I'm back to Gargoyles, because like the Spider-Man thing, and I'm like, yeah, and naturally, like somehow, like Spider-Man's chasing Kraven, and Kraven ends up in the Gargoyle universe.
Yeah, there you go. And Kraven's like, oh my god, Gargoyles, I'm gonna hunt the shit out of these guys.
It writes itself, guys.
It really does.
Mainly because there have already been episodes like it.
No, that's true. Kareem Atta, have a nice day. Thank you very much, Kareem. Really
you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your support. Mr. Rayguns, as the biggest Ben Reilly fan, I can't stand Chasm, but seeing Ben get his revenge on Norman was very satisfying. Plus the line Ben says before beating on him, I guess chef's kiss, or A-okay. Hope you guys are doing great. Thank you very much, Rayguns. Yeah, it was a fun moment. We'll talk more about that more specifically, but we'll get there. It was interesting, like seeing any effort put into making Ben have anything. Like, there's more effort from Zeb to justify Ben being Chasm than when he was made Chasm, like when they first invented him. TY, what do you think James Gunn will do with Batman? The DCU needs a Batman series, but there's already Matt Reeves' other series going on right now. Just make Matt Reeves Batman the Batman of that new universe. That's all you have to do. No fuss, no muss. They didn't do any. They weren't like, there are no superheroes out there, or like, it would be impossible for a Green Lantern. Like, they just like, no, Batman's over there, just like every comic book. Batman's over there doing his thing. That's it. Psycho Red, fun fact, the artist for Gargoyles was the artist for Jason Inman's Super Best Friend issues 1 through 3.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, I thought that name looked familiar. So I have that book.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess I should have been able to guess by the style, but I don't think in Jason Inman's book they're drawing gargoyles.
They are straight up not.
And as much as they are, like at least Goliath looks like a person-ish, then not all of them.
Alan Fraser, I have 2 copies of Gargoyles #1 somehow, and neither fell apart. Maybe it was a bad batch you got.
I think I got a bad
batch. I mean, there were 2 people in the chat today who both had the book fell apart.
Yeah, well, that could just be like that's maybe not Dynamite's fault, because Dynamite's not printing them.
Yeah,
it could have been the printer's fault, and that's a quality control issue where they didn't check
totally
them, so
exactly. And Neil and Bradley, as a Christmas present to myself, I got the Jason Aaron run of Doctor Strange.
Good choice.
Got to thank Tiffany for reigniting my love for that character, and now I have an omnibus to use as a brick against muggers.
Exactly. Listen, I like the idea of like Doctor Strange omnibus being like a tome, and I wish they kind of would lean into that, because that'd be so dope.
Yes.
I bet someone could bind you that for you.
No doubt. Yeah. There are custom binders out there who will make your comics dreams come true. So I read Quick Stops #2 from Kevin Smith and Phil Hester. That was the other Phil Hester book that I read out there. This is continuing the I don't know, anthology type series where it's like, he didn't want to do a Clerks book, because in 1996 there was a Clerks book. There was 1 issue, and then there was a holiday special, and that's it.
Oh.
And then later on, I think to promote Clerks 2, they made another Clerks called Tales from the Clerks, or of the Clerks. It doesn't matter. But this is like an ongoing kind of idea of Kevin playing around with the View Askew universe. Stories about characters that might not get a sequel, or can't necessarily get a continuation, or seeing character pairings that you would normally want to see but wouldn't be able to because of, the licensing, or just Kevin's inability to make the movie. This one in particular highlights an iconic moment from the View Askew universe. If you are not a Kevin Smith fan, you're gonna be like, I don't know what the hell this is. So if you're not a Kevin Smith fan, I would not read Quick Stops, because it's not for you. And when I say that, I mean like straight up it isn't, because it wouldn't make any sense. You'd just be like, who are these people? If you are a Kevin Smith fan, you do like the old View Askew universe, or the original Jersey trilogy, then you'll know that Randall and Brody are cousins. Brody, the lead from Mallrats, Randall, the second lead from Clerks. Yeah, they're cousins, and their cousin Walter, their mutual cousin Walter, died under embarrassing circumstances, and so this story is them going to the funeral together. It's a flashback series about Randall right before he starts to work at Quick Stop, and when Walter
Randall can't go
died.
to funerals.
No, he can't, but they do have a lot of payoff. Like he gets the death cards, and Brody is apparently a collector as well. Like there's, and it's a pairing that we've seen and we've had teased in audio commentaries ever since the first audio commentary from Mallrats, and it was really like neat to see that. And it's also better written than the last two Kevin Smith movies, which makes me think that there's actually something going on here. And the thing that I think is going on here is, I think that a la the Clerks lost scene, which is a deleted scene that was never filmed from Clerks that showcased Dante and Randall at the funeral. This was first adapted into a comic book drawn by Phil Hester back in 1999 or 2000, doesn't matter. But then was readapted by Powerhouse Animation Studios into a like full-on animated deleted scene that they put on the Clerks 10th anniversary DVD. But it's just a sequence that like he wrote back in the day. I think that at least this issue, if not the last two issues, are old scripts that Kevin wrote that he just has from before, like before he crawled into a weed cocoon. Because it's just as good.
That's great.
It's just as good as the lost scene.
Right.
Like it reads like the lost scene, but it like, you know, it's like that, and it's fun. It's just a fun little book. It's harmless and it's silly and it tells those stories and it's just for a very specific audience. But you know what's funny? Like if you start your career from movies and you move to comic books, like that audience could keep that book afloat for a long time because you're talking about it, you know, oh, I need 1 million people to go see this movie. Okay, well, I need 30,000 people to buy this comic book.
Right.
Like, not bad. But yeah, check out Quick Stop's number 2. It's a little better than the first issue, I think. Okay. I liked it certainly more than that. Oh. Yeah, all right. What else did you read, Tiffany?
I read X-Force this week.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm like...
Because Beast sucks.
Because Beast was on the cover. And
Ben Percy, Christopher Allen.
Yeah. Because Sever Blackmore's in this too.
Ooh.
With Solemn. It's really less about them. Although Solemn's really trying to, you know...
Yeah.
He's got stuff going on. I wouldn't call it machinations, but yeah, he's got stuff going on.
Yeah.
But no, we're dealing a lot with Sage and her alcoholism.
Sure.
And you know, and I kind of appreciate that. It's like just quiet growth for her. Like, you know, it's quiet in terms of the type of action you're used to seeing for X-Force. But it's literally a life-changing like situation. You know what I mean? To go from being someone who relies on alcohol to numb and dull the pain outside of her job.
Yeah.
To like having an instance in which she was drinking and because of it, like on the job, she usually could separate the two, and Domino gets severely injured because of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Man, they're really dragging Domino, poor thing.
But Domino's really supportive of her friend. She's like, I get it. Like, you know, like at the end of the day, like I can be healed, and like there's all these like fungus or like whatever, like all these things can fix me. There's nothing like that can fix you. You have to put in the work.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like this is a surprisingly like sobering moment for Sage. So I was like, that's really neat. It's nice to see that type of growth in a character, especially in a, like I said, like in a book that's like really known for its action,
right?
And for like hyping up how horrible Beast is, because don't forget Beast made a prison on like the like dark side of the moon, basically up by like I think it's on like one of the Mars moons somewhere, like floating somewhere. I think it's not really important. The point is he's got a secret prison where he's like taking prisoners and he's doing horrific experiments on them in order to make biological weapons that we can use, like that Krakoa can use against their enemies. Like it's just like, hi, Beast is the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He's an absolute monster. But needless to say, because of Sever Blackmore and Solemn, in particular Solemn getting onto the prison and releasing Sever, the jig is up, and the rest of the team finds out about the prison.
Oh, good.
So Beast returns to Krakoa arrested.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay,
cool. Are they gonna throw him in Sabretooth's hell?
I don't know.
That book get canceled?
No, they finished that up, and then Sabretooth spun off into another book, I think, and I wasn't really reading it.
That's fair.
But I know a lot of people really liked it, so like, good on you. And I don't honestly know if it's still going or if that was a one shot. I don't know, but like, listen, let's do something with Beast. Like, you have built him up to be this villain.
Yeah.
I hope you have something clever up your sleeve,
You
everybody.
better have a plan for this.
X team, come on.
Yeah.
Because he is the worst.
Nice.
Thank you.
Did you read anything else?
Yeah. Did I read anything else? What else did I read?
I don't know.
That's a dope question. X-Men Red came out this week as well.
It did indeed.
That's written by Al Ewing with art by a person.
Stefano Caselli. That's
who it is. Wow, how'd you remember the first name?
Because it was on the screen.
It's dope. Oh, I didn't know that. This is continuing a series of bad decisions that people are making, simply because of the fact that Abigail Brand is trying to move all these chess pieces around. Meanwhile, like Cable and a section of her group, her old group, broke off, and they're like not working with her anymore because Cable and WizKid now know that like, hey, Brand is doing shit. So they're trying to get to the heart of that. Meanwhile, Brand is trying to move all these pawns because she, much like Beast originally, because remember Beast was like, you need a villain, and like, I'll be that villain. And now I think Beast is just like, I like being a villain.
No, I really like it. I'm a monster. Yeah.
Abigail Brand, truly, because of her background and because just the role that she has played historically in the Marvel universe and with X-Men in general, like, I buy it.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, no, you're all children and you don't understand. Like, you don't get it. I don't think she's right, but for her part, she's like, no, I'm doing this because like, I actually know what's best.
Yeah. Abigail Brand should become the Amanda Waller of the Marvel universe.
Right? Yeah, I could see that happening, except like, she doesn't care enough.
She doesn't trust anybody either.
She doesn't trust enough, but she doesn't like, she's like, yeah, Earth is great and like whatever, but at the end of the day, like, it's one player in like many. Like, you, like most people on Earth, you Terrans, whatever you want to call them, you think about just yourselves, but I'm thinking like everything else. Yeah. And so like, that is very much what she's doing. She's just like, these are the things that have to happen because of that, like because of like what actually needs to get done around here. Sure. Folks, okay. In fact, like when like there's like some severe violence happening on screen that she's monitoring because she sends a team out to execute her plan. Yep. Even though they don't necessarily know what the plan is. One of her cohorts who's like in her circle is like, hey, permission to look away. And she's like, no, for what we do, we have to watch. Like, you know, no, we don't get to just do these dirty deeds and then pretend like they're not happening. Exactly. And I'm like, and that is the difference between the way that like Ewing is writing Brand and the way Beast is being like portrayed as a villain. And I don't think that's Percy's fault. I think again, fingers crossed, they're actually doing something with it. Yeah. But like, Brand is exactly what she is, you know? And like I said, I like her a lot, but damn, she's a bitch. So in this, Brand convinces the Quiet Council and Xavier that, listen, without Magneto being like a heavy hitter on Arakko, because they're going to respect his death. Yes. We're sticking to it for right now. Yeah. He's not coming back yet.
No, not until the next event.
Right.
When we need to like fire him like a missile at something.
Right. And then you know what though? Like, if they let it go for a bit, you know, it will be awesome depending on what the memories they give him back. Because if he comes back and he remembers it, he's gonna be pissed.
Right. Just don't.
Gonna be pissed.
Yeah, we'll just leave that out.
But any of them could get them back to him.
Of course.
So you have too many psychics who can do that.
Yeah. No, but you get him to do the hard work first.
Oh, sure. And then
he'll find out, and then he gets mad. Then you have a whole story. Then you have a year of Magneto being annoyed story.
You know, she convinces them that you need another heavy hitter, and who will the heavy hitter be? Well, we should definitely resurrect Vulcan. You remember the
third Summers brother.
Yes, and who she had been trying to like get in on Arakko on her own. Like, she wanted to get him onto their war council. Right. And that didn't really work out. She's like, you got to bring him back because we need a heavy hitter. And Xavier's like not keen to that, but is convinced that like, all right, I can't. He's like, I won't go in and do like psychic surgery on him to remove the parts that don't work because that's not right. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing unless I absolutely have to do that.
Which I often do.
He's like, but what I can do is much like when, other like, mutants come back, they may ask for certain like additions to be put like with them. When they added, I can't remember what his name is. He was part of the Hellfire Club.
Sebastian Shaw.
No, the other guy. The guy who was like,
oh yeah,
okay. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Someone will let me know. But when he came back, he asked to have, since he was going to be working with the UN, just when you resurrect me, give me, or like, let me know like all the things I missed politically.
Okay.
And so it's like additions. And so Xavier's like, I'm going to give him like coping mechanisms to deal with his like rage and his ego and like all of his other elements to his
Nice.
personality. He's like, I'm not a psychologist, but hopefully
that works.
works.
I like that.
And so that's the plan.
Yeah.
And they immediately put him into a situation that he shouldn't be in, because Brand, of course, is trying to start some.
Yeah.
And so they send him on a diplomatic mission to the Shi'ar Empire, because you know, we smart.
Oh yeah.
Like, everyone's like, this is a bad idea. And Brand's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, because she wants to like push something.
Yeah, she's trying to start a war.
Yeah, it's Donald Pierce, by the way.
That's it. Thank you. And so they they go there, and like he's obviously mentions the fact that he's like, I used to be the emperor. And there's the thing, like we saw in like Black Panther, where like, you know, Namor's always like hovering.
Yeah,
that's him. He's hovering in
just
the chambers. And he's like, I used to actually be in charge of everything. So
yeah,
you can get off the throne now, Xandra, because like it's for me to do.
Right.
Nova's there. He's like, why are you here? Why?
Yeah.
Why? So needless to say, like a big fight breaks out, and Vulcan clearly has the upper hand. He's stronger than most folk in the room. Warbird is there, and he obviously had a kid, and he's like, where is my son? And she's like, he's away from both of us because we are damaged, and like he don't need that.
Okay.
And then he like uses his powers, and he just melts Xandra.
Oh no.
And we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then we cut back, and it's not Xandra.
Oh, is it Super Skrull?
It's DaCosta.
Oh,
he can
no.
take the fire.
Okay.
So he's like just sitting there, and he's like, he had like an imaging thing on, and like he's just like, hey, what's up?
Nice.
What's up? So he postures about you know, how he can take him. He's like, trust me, he's like, I can take you. And so Vulcan ends up leaving because he's after Xandra, and he wants to kill her.
Oh.
Warbird's like, there's no way you could have taken him. And he's like, I know. He's like, but I was pretty sure that I could bluff my way out of it. I'm me.
Yeah.
I'm awesome.
Yeah.
So he does, like, you know, Vulcan leaves and goes to the Autumn Palace on Racco, where he's like, all right, it's time, Xandra. I know you're here. I can feel you. You know, I've been dreaming of this moment. So here we go. And there's a voice that's like, really? Sorry, I kept you waiting. And it's this dope image of Storm, who's like, I'm going to kick your ass.
Nice.
And I'm like,
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down. I'm
Love
down for that. There's a really fun moment as well early on when they're resurrecting Vulcan, in which Havoc is there as his Cyclops, and they're talking about this whole thing going down.
Yeah.
And like how like he's like, you trust Xavier to do this? And Xavier's like, hey, listen, like, I know I promised I'm not gonna like, you know, eavesdrop on people like psychically, but I have ears, and you're like 3 feet away from me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not using my powers for this. You're just being a dick.
Yeah, you're just being an ass about this. And so like, I was like, no, it's cool. It's cool. Like, you know, like it's just like, and he explains like what it's like. And he's like, well, yeah, I guess like when you get resurrected, like Jean does that for you. And he's like, actually, whenever I'm resurrected, Emma does it for me. And Havoc's like, I'm not even gonna unpack that. Right. I'm just gonna leave this conversation. Just, we're good. And I was like, these are those little moments that I'm like, Ewing just doing a little world building there, where it's like, no, Emma Frost brings Cyclops back most of the time.
Interesting.
I'm like, is there another secret doorway in their moon home?
Right.
So it was a good issue. You know, I of course really miss what Ewing was doing with Magneto. And I'm just trying to get myself reacclimated to the original story that he had put out there.
Yeah.
This is most of the original cast, like, you know, that was there at the start of the series. So if you're liking that before AXE hit, we're coming back around to all of those like plot points and characters
that's cool
from the beginning. So
yay. I read Daredevil #6 from Chip Zdarsky and Rafael De La Torre. Great series. You should be continuing to read this. It's very different from where it started, but it's also in a fun direction. The Daredevils go and they infiltrate a secret raft prison that is not the raft. It's more like the prison from the movie Civil War, and I think it was developed in or before Devil's Reign. But they're recruiting, and they need more like powerhouses. Daredevil steals U.S. Agent's shield and gets on the radar of the Avengers, and he's just like, "Fuck you. I'm doing shit. Don't mess with me." Just a little message like, so the Avengers will show up in Daredevil.
I like that he leaves him a message.
Yeah. It's like, I'm doing shit. And it's really cool. My guess is that because Zdarsky has like a real reverence for like, you know, Miller era Daredevil and stuff like that, that we're going to get a return to that moment in Born Again, in which Daredevil is like doing his thing, he's fighting Nuke, and then like, you know, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor arrive and like, you know, bring down the thunder, and it's really cool. So we're gonna get a moment like that that's just ratchet up to 11. I hope it's
that's dope.
Hope it's worth it. It's really cool. But the series is fun. Is it as cool or fun as when he was in New York? No. But we are building towards something big, and I hope it's a worthwhile journey. I'm a big fan.
Okay.
Maybe that was the last issue. I don't remember. Spider-Man number 3 from Dan Slott and Mark Bagley continues the end of Spider-Verse. Oh, you promise? I sure hope so. I did not care for this book. I remember I was saying the previous books, like the last two. I read this one, and it was like it was fun. You know, it's Spider-Man doing his thing. He teams up with some people. We see it's just an excuse to have a bunch of skins that you're gonna have in Spider-Man 2.
Sure.
And you know, whatever. They have like a dagger they have like a continuity dagger. I wish they'd called it that, but I don't think Dan Slott wants to have any like affiliation with Peter David. So he's like, no, it's a special dagger from the web of blah blah blah.
Sure.
And at the end, Spider-Man Peter Parker gets stabbed with it, so now he's unmade.
What?
Just like, okay. Because like they kept and you could tell like the thing is, you know, like how it's like, oh, a Scott Snyder book, is it going to have a really long boring history lesson about like something that relates to what is actually happening in the book?
Yeah.
But it doesn't like tie into the plot in such a way that you're like, oh no, like it's just something that where you're like, you notice it, you know, and it's like, no, okay, like Scott has a lot of like strengths that are not just that. With this, I was like, Slott does this thing where he'll have a character like refer to themselves as the linchpin of the story. So you're just waiting for them to be removed.
Right.
And
right.
that's all that happens in this issue is Peter's like, I'm the chosen one. I'm the chosen one. Like, don't worry, I'm the chosen one. And then they unmake him because like, you know, you don't need Spider-Man in a Spider-Verse event, apparently.
Right.
So it's just like, whatever, who cares? Like, it's just, you know, if I remember to read the next one, I will. But if not, I'm, you know, leaving the world no poorer. This book exists.
Okay.
You know, Batman came out, though. What'd you read?
Oh, no, we could talk about Batman because I read that too.
Oh, Batman 130?
Yeah, I didn't read anything leading up to it, but I had to know what Chip didn't want people to be spoiled on so badly that I didn't allow myself to be spoiled, and I read it.
Yeah, me too. Chip Zdarsky, Leonardo Romero, but more importantly, Jorge Jimenez. This is his last book on the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it needed to be that. Like, I don't think it was that spoilish. I was like, oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
It was good. It was a good issue.
No, there's a moment at the end he didn't want you to be spoiled on, and I totally understand that.
But I don't even know what the hell they're doing.
Doesn't matter. He didn't want you to be spoiled on it.
What's to be spoiled if I have no idea what it is?
What? Did I read the wrong issue?
Batman gets like teleported to some place.
No, but presumably it looks like he's dead.
Right, but he's not.
Yeah, but that's what it looks like, and I think that's what he didn't want you to be spoiled on because it is a gut punch moment. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a good moment.
But like, because like, and like, here's why I say it's a really good moment, and why I think he didn't want you to be spoiled on it, because the panel right before that, like, I've never seen Batman look like a regular person.
Oh yeah.
Than that, where like he's trying to like be a father and bring comfort to Tim, and I absolutely love that. And so like, I think he was absolutely right to say don't like be spoiled on that, because it like you're like, oh no,
right,
like. He's not going to dodge or anything like that. You know, like, and do I know that he's going to come back? Yeah, of course I know he's going to come back.
He is back. He didn't even die.
What?
It teleports him to another place. Like he's...
Oh, is that the rest of the book?
The rest of the book is he's someplace else.
I thought it was over and that was a backup, so I didn't read that part.
I didn't read a back... No. Well, no, there was like a full page where it's like, it's him wrecked, but he's in an alley.
Oh.
And then the rest of it is the finish.
I read it on the Comixology thing.
Oh, well, there you have it.
I swear I didn't
see that. Good old Comixology, like helping us out. No, the backup is solid. You should be reading those backups, by the way. Not
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
It like I skipped over it and I went to that directly.
Right.
That's me. No, I just skipped too much.
That's fair.
Yeah, but regardless, like Tim thinks he is.
Well, and Jimenez did a nice thing with the art where for I think the majority of the last fight, you see his eyes.
Yes.
Batman's eyes.
Yeah.
To like, as you pointed out, like bring up his humanity.
Yeah,
show like he's a guy.
Yeah, we're humanizing him.
After he fucking fell from the moon and used like his underwear to protect his face. Like, it was super dope.
But he's with like a Robin, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like he's with his ward, he's, you know, he's there with him, and he needs to, like, he's taking that connection. Like, it's not like they're
Yeah.
just soldiers anymore, they're partners. And I really like that his description of like his relationship with Tim and with Jason, and how like they worked together, or with Jason and Dick and Tim, like how they worked together differently, and how like he's like, no, Tim was the one that followed it before. And I absolutely loved that.
Yeah, me too.
But I think regardless of like the reveal at the end, like he wants you to have, he wants you to be on the roller coaster.
Yeah. No, it's true. Well, because I did not see that coming. I didn't see them. I was like, how is he going to defeat Failsafe?
I'll be honest with you. You know what I thought was going to happen? I thought Tim was going to get in the way.
But then that new writer wouldn't have a book anymore. The one who's like been making her bones on having Tim Drake be have a new direction.
Sure.
But because there's nothing else that they would have her write. But yeah, it's a good issue. It's fun. It's just it is like, as you described, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It just he goes from the destroyed Watchtower back to Earth to Antarctica to the fortress, teams up with Robin again, battles Failsafe. Superman is in there too. He's fun. This is a 5-issue run so far, and it's just a really, like, I don't want to say joyful, because it's not. It's just, but it is in no way self-indulgent. It just plays with the toys in a fun, entertaining way that is not exploitative or derivative, or even if it is derivative, because it's like Failsafe is the idea. You know, they're like, oh, you're doing Pat. I couldn't believe the amount of criticism I got, and people going like, you're doing Tower of Babel again. I'm like, oh yeah? Name one part of this that's like Tower of Babel. Never mind the fact that Chip also hung his hat on it by being like, this machine was built out of Tower of Babel. Like, no, it's not. It's neat. And well executed. And yeah, the new status quo of Batman, I don't know what the hell's going on. But I think the idea is, because I remember Chip talking a little bit on our previous episode. He said something to the effect of, we're going to focus more on Bruce Wayne.
That's fair.
And I was like, that's cool. That Tamaki run kind of did that, but like in a way where Tamaki was not concerned with Bruce so much as she was concerned with introducing new characters and establishing like her world and the future state situation. So it's like, it'll be cool to see where this goes.
Yeah.
I have no idea where this is going, which is why this is a good book, like Daredevil.
Back in time, because initially I thought that's what we're going to do, is like almost like an Omega Sanction kind of thing. So like it could be that. Maybe we're meant to think that.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
I don't know. All I know is like those like pages leading up to it, I thought were brilliant.
They were great.
They were so well done.
You're so right.
And I love the fact that even like Tim takes the mask off to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, that was just like a nice touch.
It's a good detail.
It's a good detail, but it's also like, it's not just like Robin being sad. Tim is
Tim is devastated. Yeah. And if you know Tim's history, it's like his father was murdered in front of him too when he was Robin. It's like there's a lot there. But yeah, man, it was a good book.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
You know, it's really worth reading. If you haven't already, check it out, because like Failsafe just ended, but like all the runs now, it's not like it's part of a continuing saga. You know, like Chip has mentioned, like he's like, I'm not leaving. like I'll leave when they fire me.
Right.
Alden Tolbert says, imagine if Steve Rogers discovered the Spider-Verse. I think he would be like, ugh, what? I like Peter. Why would he let this happen?
Right.
Charzy says, hey, you two, keep up the tremendous work. Well, thank you very much, Charzy. If or when you guys do another Jonathan Hickman story, please call him Johnny Hicks. Please don't judge me for spending money to tell a story. No judgment here, Charzy. Thanks so much for your support, man.
Thank you.
Johnny Hicks. I will not remember that. I'm sorry. But it'll be a long time before we do another Jonathan.
There you go.
So I'll try to remember. Elizabeth Russell says, hey guys, hope you're well. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Hope you are too. I was wondering if you had a chance to read Justice Society by Jeff Johns. So far, it's pretty good. No, but yeah, I know about it, and I looked a little bit at like, I don't know, like one of the who's who in the DCU recreated pages, and I was like, this is fun. I don't really care. It's tough. Like DC's in a weird place where it's like, if I know that editorial, the publishers, the editors, everybody doesn't care, then I'm not going to either. Because why would I? You just released a Crisis and another Crisis by Jeff Johns at the same exact time. And neither of them have anything to do with each other, and you didn't promote either of them. So why would I give a fuck about that? So I'll wait. until it matters, or until DC tells me it matters.
There you go.
But yeah, it's tough. You got anything else?
Yeah, I read Thanos Death Notes.
Hey, I was wondering if you were gonna get a chance to take a look at that.
I did. There's a bunch of people who worked on this. I was hoping there was a simple credits page, but
Yeah, me too.
there isn't. It's written by Turin Gronbeck. It's written by Christopher Cantwell. It's written by Straczynski. I don't know. I guess Kyle Starks was in there. I didn't
see his name on there, but it was on the it's on the promotion.
There's a whole bunch of great artists in here. Jeff Shaw. There's so many.
Wow.
This is a whole. And Ron Lim. Oh, that's who Kyle Starks writes with. So if you want to see some like Ron Lim Thanos action, that's the last story in this. Essentially, it's like 4 little stories.
That's great
in here.
Okay.
And they're great. And I guess if you're reading Thor, you know more about it than me because they're like, hey, going to be continued in Thor.
Like, oh, okay.
Thor's on the lookout for Thanos.
Okay.
So, that's not what this is about necessarily. Like, it's caged within that. Like, Thor goes to get more information about Thanos, goes to Titan, to the ruined city, and he's looking for information. He finds a journal, and from that we get some stories.
Cool. Okay.
Including Tony Stark talking to the Thanos android or robot, which is interesting because Tony Stark sees a dark future and attempts to like avoid it by the robot's like, if you destroy me, like you'll be tortured forever because that's already happened. That's happening now, and like all this stuff. And like if you let me go, it'll be cool. So like Tony's like, I should science says I should be fine, but I won't risk it.
Yeah.
So
okay,
that one was the weakest one for me, but they kind of that was like. Beginning story of like Thor being on Titan, really strong, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hugin and Mugen, I know I'm saying them wrong. With him, so just dope. Tony Stark one, fine.
Yeah.
And then we get into the Straczynski one, which is a lot of fun.
Yay.
And it deals with death.
Good.
And they're clearly trying to merge like the Thanos loves death and the
half of
MCU,
population.
Thanos together by saying that like that's Death's plan. And so Thanos, because he loves her, is executing Death's plan.
Okay, sure.
And I was like, if you feel like you need to do that, fine, whatever. That really doesn't bother me. I know it does bother some people, so I want to address that.
Jameis loves his synergy. Don't you remember his Doctor Strange book that was just the Matrix? Because he's like, this will be a great movie treatment.
Synergy. But he also introduces a new like point of history for Thanos. That Thanos had a first love.
Oh, okay.
Named Karella. Like when he was on Titan and he was a deviant and no one would be friends with him or talk to him because he was basically like persona non grata.
Yeah, he was a deviant.
This woman like fell in love with him and they and her family was like not cool with that, but wouldn't do anything about it except they tried to sabotage his ship. And in doing so, fated her to die because she ended up going on the trip or the mission he was going on as well. And they end up like in a bad way in which like they can't escape the ship. There's like poisonous gas leaking in, but there's enough air in there for like one cycle. But like the rescue team won't be there for 2 cycles. So what does that mean? One of them has to die. So she's going to give up her life for him because he's in a worse way.
Yeah.
And so like she does, it's actually really well written, of course, because
he's a good writer.
It's Straczynski writing it. It's really sweet and sad. And from that, Death uses that story to be like, to help to spur Thanos onto his plan of like having the universe, that type of thing.
Sure.
Like that she was down for that. It was totally cool. And like, at the end of the day, like she kisses him and all that and says that like, it's cool. You can love life and death. Don't worry about it. And then we see her like Karella wandering like in the, like she's an echo.
Yes.
That's how Thanos sees her. She's wandering around being like, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
You didn't get the message at all. And it's like, it's really, really sad because cool. Like, that like the lesson is that like, life is precious.
Right.
And that like, it's worth saving. And I was like, that's really like, I kind of dig that. I don't know how people feel about the idea of Thanos having a love before death.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's someone he like, seemingly he was like, of course it's her. Like there she is. Right. Like,
yeah.
And like, so that was neat. And then there's another one with Ron Lim's art where it's just Thanos looking for Nebula.
Okay.
And it's just Thanos like kicking people's asses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
that's cool that Ron Lim got a chance to do it. I saw a little bit of that and I was like happy to see Ron Lim
really
drawing.
Very classic
looking.
It is. Some of the other artwork's a little less classic, but it's still good looking. But this is like, yep,
This is like what you remember. If you
Yeah,
remember
for
it at all.
sure, for sure. At the end of the day, though, Thor finds like I, I guess like Thanos's filing cabinet
Yeah.
of files, in which he finds a file on his grandfather
Oh, okay.
and what that could be and what it has to do with the Black Stone. 'Cause it's like the Black Stone file is missing.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so that's where we're going with that, I suppose.
Yeah.
I wanted to check it out just because
We
you know,
talked about it last week, so it was like,
yeah, and in the wake of course, like, AXE, and I'm like, interesting that they decided to add a like love interest for Thanos, because I don't think like anyone's gonna replace Thanos, but the fact that like Uranos showed up and is actually somehow worse than Thanos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, are they gonna like give Thanos a reason to maybe reform and
Mm.
then allow Uranos to become the new Thanos? I don't think so. I think Thanos is too iconic.
Yes.
But maybe they'll try it.
Yeah. I saw somebody posting pictures of Uranos all over the place, and they were just like, I love that they established that Thanos has like a, what is he, grandfather or uncle or something like that.
Yeah, he's not.
And he's just Darkseid. And that was what the internet has declared. They're just like, no, Uranos is just Darkseid.
No, he's not.
No, he is, though, because he looks a little bit like him.
But he's not.
No, but I've been reading comics for 25 years, so I think I would know better.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I've been reading, but not internalizing anything that I've read. So yeah, Dark Web #1, boy, Zeb Wells and Adam Kubert. This is the debut of the epic Spider-Man / X-Men whatever run. It's a Spider-Man book. It's written by Zeb Wells. It stars some of the X-Men, but only the ones from the Treehouse and Magic. But yeah, I find it curious that they don't put Spider-Man or X-Men. It's just Dark Web.
Well, this is a Dark Web Alpha series issue.
Yeah, but it's also, I think it's just the main book.
There's no main book.
There's no main book?
No, that's not how this series works. This series works like Darkhold.
Oh, great.
In a way.
That's a shame.
Well, no, it also works like AXE, because AXE had like an Alpha and Omega like kind of thing.
But part 1, 2, 3 is all throughout the books.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, it
kind of.
It's doing its thing.
I read this too.
Good.
Just so you know.
I read, reading up to this, I didn't like any of the lead up.
Mm-hmm.
It was all pretty weak. And this was less weak significantly, I think, in terms of writing.
Those first few pages, I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll say it was good. Those first few pages I thought were really well done. Like I liked getting the nightmare
of Ben Reilly / Chasm.
Yeah, like what's in his head.
Yeah, what's in his head.
Obviously made worse by Limbo.
Of course.
And like a lot of fun body horror.
Yes, exactly. Basically just like, we see that they're really playing up like why are they playing up Jeannie so much? Like why do they make her because she's like a dark mirror to Mary Jane.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. Like because they never really dealt with that.
And
before.
I think that like I don't know if Wells is going to go down this route, but like the realization that it's like Ben Reilly is like, I am just a freaking clone of this guy. Like I have the redhead and everything.
Right.
Like, I'm not living my own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it's true.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
You can't help who you love, but I'm just saying.
No, it's true. Also, I don't know. Did the Scythe of Sorrows come up in Hellions, or is this just like? I think this because so Madeline Pryor's like, you're having nightmares in Illinois, don't fall asleep here.
It would have happened in Hellions. It would have happened in New Mutants, and I honestly can't remember if she conjured that at the end.
I genuinely feel like this Scythe is just. She said she names it. It's here because it's going to be important here later.
Well,
Ben will be stabbed with it or something.
She took over Limbo literally at the end of the New Mutants like arc that they did.
Yeah,
and then that was it.
We
didn't go back to it.
No,
so, like, it's fair that he would do this because there's no page time in between. It took so long for her to get into that position.
Yes,
that then we moved on from New Mutants, so they kind of left her there.
Yeah. But we're established, basically they're counting on the fact that you didn't probably read any of the lead up to this. No. So they're just like, here's the context.
Yep.
Here's who Ben and Maddie are. The sequence of the full page spread of Pryor and Riley together is actually kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm disappointed with the art. I feel like Adam Kubert is not. It felt a little rushed.
Well, you know what I think it is? I don't know. I'm trying to think back on some Adam Kubert art that I've seen recently, which I guess would be Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, he could have been doing digital, but I noticed the digital marks in this. Now, people say digital allows you to work faster. So I don't know if it's rushed or it's the sensation of the fact that I can do more quickly because it is digital.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to accuse him of being like, well, I just got to churn this shit out.
No.
As opposed to like, in that medium, it's just easier to do.
Yeah. it's professional, but it's not the highest quality Adam Kubert work that I am used to.
Yeah, no, because his Wolverine work is freaking amazing. But I felt the fact that this was digitally done.
It really, yeah. And I know Adam Kubert's work for the most part from pencils. And his pencils are the Kuberts across the board, their pencils are unmatchable.
Right.
And this is not that.
Well, I guess we get also question who inked it, because it could be it could be that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well.
So yeah, they're having a party for Harry Osborn, who's dead, and they're just reminding you it's Harry's birthday.
It's his birthday.
They had it at the Coffee Bean. I love that Peter's actually at this friggin' party. Usually they're like, "Oh, I missed it, Peter. We miss you. You're an idiot." Mary Jane calls a ceasefire, refers to her continuity and her status quo, but like, we want to do this, and we're forgetting about the fact that like we're saying, what did Peter Parker do? Well, apparently nobody gives a shit. Moving on. Like, whatever. We're trying to do this right now.
They're doing that, and they're also like, it's Zeb, I think, poking at you guys, like for wanting to know what this is all about and not wanting to wait for it,
right? I don't care.
No, I know that, because like he did that, but he also did the Mary Jane kid thing.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah, no, like where's Paul? Oh, he's at home with the kids. It's a long story.
I'm all ears.
I don't
shift scene. We
don't want to get that. Yeah. Norman's watching like a wraith from behind the glass. Peter talks to him. Basically, Norman's just like, they're celebrating the life of a clone. He was never really alive, or he's alive he died in like a Spectacular 200, but we're not going to talk about that. Moving on. Norman's sad. His son's dead. It's his birthday. And blah, blah, blah.
You know what I liked about that sequence, though, is that we established Peter's thoughts on clones, where he's just like, no, he was an individual person.
Yeah, that's nice.
Like, okay, I get where you're going with
this. Yeah. Maddie reveals that she has another player.
She's got an ace in the hole.
And it's Eddie Brock with a symbiote. And I'm like, what? I didn't read I'm not reading Venom. Like, I'm just straight up not reading Venom, so I don't know anything about what's happening with Eddie, about Dylan being missing, about what symbiote this is. I don't know anything about it. Maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't, but I couldn't care less. I'm just like, I know what you're doing. You want this to be a celebration of the 90s. Because Maddie's like, we're doing this thing. I'm going to play the song, and it's going to unleash all the demons and crap. And we're going to do Inferno again, but I can't call it that because Hickman took Inferno. So, and everyone, I love it, is like when the demons and like possess like, Zambonis and so forth and are attacking people. Everyone's like, it's like Inferno all over again. Remember Inferno, everybody? So like they want you to remember like the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
Because of course, like, because Maddie came from like the late 80s, early 90s. Ben came from the mid 90s. Venom's from the 80s and 90s. Inferno's from the 90s. Like, it's all like a kind of like greatest hits jam piece of the 90s, while also being couched as like an original project. And it's like, when you think about that and you write it down on paper, I'm like, all right, cool, good for you. Because it really is like, this issue really telegraphs like what this is all about. The last bunch of issues have been like, what are you doing? What even is this? This is like, I am talking about 90s comics from the perspective of today. And I'm like, oh, the only thing that I feel like they could have made this a holographic cover or something like that to really sell that. But okay, fine. But I really but I get it. And it's funny that it's nice that they didn't say it out loud.
No, they don't say it out loud, but like I was reading this, and as I was reading it, I couldn't help but feel that. But then I could also understand people being annoyed by it because like not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants a nostalgia bomb dropped on you. And
or a meta commentary on nostalgia.
I don't know if it is both. I think it is both things, because like there's a moment in this where I'm just like, oh, I get it. You wanted to see this. You haven't been able to see this specific thing in a while.
Yeah.
For good reason, for story reasons. And then so you came up with a story reason to show us this thing that people have not seen for a while.
Yes. And it like works in as much as it can, but we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
So, Hallows Eve makes a point of saying like, I'm not really being utilized. Like you made a big deal. You have like a whole book that's going to be called Hallows Eve coming out. Like, how come I'm not important yet?
Yeah.
Ben is unleashed and he's like, fuck it. I'm going to go beat the living shit out of Norman Osborn.
That's what he's supposed to do. Like there's a whole plan. Like Maddie has Eve and something else going on.
Well, and she's got something going on with Venom too. She's like, she closed the door on Ben. She's like, I got to talk to Venom.
We explain that later on, but like that, like Eve and Venom have a thing to do in the time that it takes Ben to do his thing.
Yes, exactly.
I'm like, all right, cool.
Right. And of course, because like the next issue, which comes out on Wednesday, is Venom versus Spider-Man in the Spider-Man tie-in for Dark Web. So it's like, yeah, Peter will be busy fighting Venom, and Ben is beating the tar out of Norman Osborn.
Right.
Because we reveal that, like, basically Ben doesn't have Peter's good memories. He only has, like, his own, like, pain and, like, misery and anger. So he remembers being, like, killed by Norman. And I love that they even dropped the issue number. Like, there's been multiple volumes since then. But yeah, he's like, I remember you and what you did to me.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that, like, he brings up the fact that, like, he has faulty memories.
Yeah.
But
he's right to hate Norman.
But that, like, and, like, this is what I think is, like, interesting in terms of, like, maybe not what people are looking for, but that, like, you know, we're doing this, like, 80s, 90s homage, meta commentary on it, right? But, like, also we're talking about the fact that, like, typically the human brain remembers the bad more than it remembers the good, even though the good is what you should remember. It's the bad that sticks out. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting because it's such a human thing to do. He's a clone, but, like, all he can think about is being a clone. And I'm like, that's, and, like, just the negative parts. I'm like, well, that's what makes you human.
Exactly.
Like, you're doing it. You're humaning.
Right. But we reveal that in the manipulation of Brock, we've rolled him back. We factory reset him, more or less, or at least in this.
Maddie, like, took some stuff from him.
Yeah, and it rolled him back to 90s Venom.
Yep. And I'm like,
so he's like, oh, all I remember and think about is that I have to kill Spider-Man.
I have to eat his brains.
I have to eat his brains.
When I saw that image, first of all, it's like Kubert spent extra time on this.
Yes, he did.
It is extra 90s. He is huge.
Yeah. No,
there's slobber and, like,
but not in, like, a Ryan Stegman, Donny Cates, like, you know, we're trying to deepen or explain.
There's a Krampus level tongue shooting out of his mouth. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to read Dark Web, it continues into Amazing Spider-Man number 15. Then it goes to X-Men Dark Web number 1. Then Mary Jane and Black Cat number 1. Then Ms. Marvel for some effing reason. The Golden Goblin, it says that's number 1. Golden Goblin number 2.
Yeah. No, the image says number 1, but it's
incorrect. Actually number 2.
Yeah.
They just printed it wrong. Amazing Spider-Man 16, Venom 14, X-Men Dark Web number 2, and then it rolls into January and February, and it wraps up with Dark Web Dawn.
So it's going to be over pretty quickly. Like, this is going to come and go. Yeah. And it makes sense. It's clearly set around the holiday season. We're supposed to get that type of vibe from it.
Yes.
If you're not on board for it, totally understand.
And skippable. Like, you know, if you were like, oh, I'm not going to read Dark Web, which I understand why. You don't need to read the book created for it. Dark Web X-Men number 1, Mary Jane and Black Cat number 1, Dark Web Ms. Marvel, Gold Goblin. I don't know anybody's reading that anyway.
Right.
Dark Web X-Men, Gold Goblin. Yeah, those are the 6 books.
Yeah, but you know, if you are reading Spider-Man, this is going to show
You're going to have to skip,
but
like, 15, 16, 17.
At least the first issue
18.
Presumably is a big fight between Spider-Man and Venom, which is kind of neat.
Right? Unfortunately, the cover is drawn by John Romita Jr., so Venom's, like, weird and thin, which he's always drawn. I don't know why. Maybe to set himself apart, but I hope that the interior is by somebody else. I kind of dig it. Like, not that I'm thrilled with the status quo, but I liked the idea and the execution thereof.
I really expected to not enjoy this.
Me too.
I
fully expected not to want it.
This is kind of like a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of, you just got to turn your brain off. And I think that's from issue 1.
Yes. It's first.
There's so many issues to go to really judge this, but the first issue I was like, okay, is it my favorite?
Yeah. No.
But okay, I get the vibe you're going with.
Exactly. Like, I get it, and you're going for something interesting, and I'm on board for now. We'll see where it goes, but like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm not begrudging this issue. Certainly, the art was not a favorite of mine, unfortunately, and I was hyped for Kubert.
No, but there are some strong
moments. Yeah, full page moments are all awesome.
Yep.
Even the double page splash of Spider-Man looking over, like, the Rockefeller Center, like, that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
There's some great moments. The moments that you're like, like there's a couple moments where Peter's, like, on the wall, and I'm like, that face is rough.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
But yeah, I'm on board. It's interesting to see. Like, you know, this is just, and it could be one of those things where I'm like, boy, when you make me not care about someone so hard that, like, I can just watch what happens to him and just be detached.
Yeah.
Like, I guess there's a benefit to that.
Yeah, and I feel like, though, if you are, like, a Ben Reilly fan, like, I don't know
I
how
think
you
there's redemption for Ryan. Like, I think we're going to get there.
Yeah, but I think it might be a rough journey for you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's going to be hard. But from this, I got an impression, I think, and it could be just the fact that they, like, remember what happened to him and are referencing it, that they're going to do that. Like, Chasm is not long for this world. Like, the Chasm, this is what,
I hope so.
like, because I think Chasm was not invented for this. Chasm was invented because someone went like, oh, here, you're welcome. I think it was Zeb, actually, back then.
Yep.
Zeb and Thompson. But it's like, if he was just bred for this event and they're going to fix it or change it, like, great.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Eve as well, or
Hallows Eve, Jeannie or Jenny,
because Jenny, whatever her name is, because from this event alone, because this is it. This is my intro to this. So, like, hopefully Zeb can take me along on the journey that Spider-Man's been going through. Luckily, I have you, and so, like, I have an edge here.
Right.
But I got to tell you, she does not seem healthy for him.
No. Well, like, they were together for a little while during the Lost Years, but like, it was they went on one adventure. She went to jail, and then they picked her up during Beyond. Like, they didn't really have like a long relationship.
But like, this iteration of her just seems like she's just not good for him. No. Like, it's not a good pairing of people. Like, she's all the worst thoughts in his head.
Yes,
and she also was like, I will absolutely take crazy powers and become a goblin. Yeah, I'm down. Like, and I'm like, that's not healthy.
No,
that's not.
You
good.
shouldn't want to be a goblin.
No.
Sagoma says, have either of you been keeping up with Avengers? Absolutely not.
No, I'm sorry.
Just straight up no. Denial says, reading both Spider-Man titles, I'm shocked by the quality gap between the two. Miles' previous run and the new #1 were really solid. Why can't they bring the same love and energy to Peter's book? Because the book has too many cooks in the kitchen, unfortunately. I think that it's an issue where it's like, it can't have too strong a direction lest it be fixed or dealt with by editorial and the control of the publisher. Riv Wilson, how green is your goblin too? How wide is your chasm? Good joke. What are they referring to? Subscribe to youtube.com/ComicPop and find out what happens this Wednesday. So let's talk about books that are coming out this week that we think that you should check out.
Was that all the super chats?
Yeah,
I thought there was a super sticker earlier.
There was a super sticker, and I do apprate it. Thank you. I couldn't see it, so but thank you very much for your super sticker.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm sorry. I put it up on the screen, but not the sticker because it doesn't do it. But that was Riv Wilson with the super sticker. Thank you very much, Riv. And Lee Allen says, Sal, why do you think Jeff Johns was able to produce a better event with Flashpoint Beyond than Joshua Williamson with Dark Crisis? I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I think that, like, if you are excited for Jeff Johns writing, you're going to enjoy Flashpoint Beyond. If you want to know what's going on in the main DC universe without all like Jeff Johns' Jeff Johnsiness, then you might love Dark Crisis. They're two very different animals. I think that Jeff Johns is an independent contractor, doesn't really technically work for DC. He's like subcontracted by DC. So like, that's why it feels like it has more gravity is because he can just go over there into a studio and do whatever. And then DC's like, thank you for this book we commissioned from you. That's why you feel like a difference. Whereas Josh, like, works for DC and produced a book for DC, and as such is subject to like DC's whims and requests if they were to ever have them. Amazing Spider-Man #15 comes out this week, so
I guess I'm gonna read that.
I guess I'll read that. Yeah. Are
we allowed to talk about this other thing yet?
We will. Okay. I'll get there. Danger Street #1 comes out from Tom King. I was
gonna recommend
were you?
No, go ahead. Yeah, of course I was.
Yeah. Dark Crisis Big Bang is coming out. I believe this is from Mark Waid. I read this already, and it's great.
Oh.
It's just a really, really well executed. It's a Flash story written by Mark Waid.
It's a Flash story?
It is a Flash story in which Flash has a rematch with the Anti-Monitor.
That is not what that cover...
No, this is bullshit.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% positive.
What the heck?
Yep. But it's great. Totally worth reading.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It says no Dark Knights of Steel.
I'm telling you.
Okay, I believe you.
It just gives you the numerical designation of what Dark Knights of Steel is in the infinite multiverse.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Danger Street's coming out. I'm very excited about that. Wildcats #2. Maybe this will give me a chance to actually read Wildcats #1. Lover Everlasting #5 is coming out. You should read that. Dark Ride #3 is really fun. A Vicious Circle has Libra Mayhall art. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet, but
you sent it to me. And
it looks it looks sick.
I'm gonna.
But yeah, worth at least looking at because like it's Libra Mayhall and he's very selective about the works that he's doing. And that is it from me.
You took like all the books. What am I going to even recommend? I guess I'm going to recommend Legion of X #8, Cy Spurrier's book in the Krakoan era. I like this book a lot.
Sure. Oh yeah, Dark Web's X-Men.
Oh yeah, Dark Web X-Men. Well, are you recommending that?
No.
Oh, okay, I'll probably
You
probably
recommend
grab
it.
that.
Well, it's by a great team.
Who's doing it?
Crap. It's
Jerry
Duggan and
Duggan
Rod
and
Rice.
Oh yeah, no, I'm reading that. Are you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely.
So Emma's gonna be involved. You know that.
Maybe. You said most of the things I was going to say. I am out of things.
You could reiterate the things that I said.
I mean, I'm definitely going to pick up at least those 2 independent. Well, I don't know if Danger Street's not independent.
No, it might as well be.
Yeah. I'll try to catch up on the Bone Orchard because I haven't had a chance to do that because I suck. I was like, yeah, I'm into this book. I'm totally going to read it. Oops.
Yep.
That's me. Hi, everybody. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, I'm sure there's many other things.
Yeah. Oh, Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #3.
Look at that Court of Owls guy. Look at that
that
Talon.
Talon.
Yeah. Yes. Fun. No, I got nothing else. I'm sure there's other things and I'll see them later on and I'll be like, oh man, I should have said this, but I didn't. But then I'll talk about it next week instead.
Yes. But also Batman Spawn #1 comes out tomorrow. So be sure to go to your local comic book store and pick up a copy. We'll talk more about that later, but Batman Spawn, I can't, I mean, it's #1, but it's the 3rd one. I've read it already. I can tell you that it is its own thing. It is not paying off of the continuity from either Batman Spawn or Spawn Batman. Those are completely different books. So this is the 3rd crossover between Batman and Spawn, and it is the 3rd continuity that it takes place in. Yeah, Batman Spawn. I can't believe we're in a world where that actually happened.
Right.
And so we will be talking about it at length tomorrow, or rather next week. But tomorrow, actually, there will be a moment that will be released somewhere on here in which I talked to Todd and Greg about that issue, and you can hear what we think about it and stuff like that. It's only a little bit. It's like 20 minutes long.
It's great.
It's a fun little chat.
That's a great length.
Yeah, it is a great length. And yeah, great question about is it the best one? That's a tough answer. That's a tough question to answer. So we will talk about it more next week.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you all so much for being here, for your super chats and support. Happy holidays to all of you. We'll get back to this show next week. I've got some plans for this channel and for the new year. I'm really excited to execute them, but we can't do it without you. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure to follow us on here, ComicPop Returns, at ComicPop, and at ComicPop Plays, our new streaming channel where Tiffany's Twitch games on twitch.tv/ComicPop are re-uploaded, and we're going to start trying out gaming on that channel some more. Wow, indeed. But so follow us at ComicPop Plays, at ComicPop, and at ComicPop Returns, and let us know what you want to see next over here at ComicPop Returns. Thanks a lot for hanging out.
Yeah.
So long, everybody.
Bye.